صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. So inshallah we continue with the last part. Inshallah, I think we'll finish tonight, inshallah, of this explanation and connection to Surah Kahf. And these last few verses are very important. We reached the story of Dhul Qarnayn. And because, again, we discussed before in the story of Khidr, there's so much mystery that surrounds the character. Same with Dhul Qarnayn. Same with Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Even though there have been narrations about who they are and so on. And of course, people, there's always been this discussion, this debate in the ummah between the interpretation that is literal and that is figurative. And both sides bring their ideas, of course, and this has been a very, very long debate for centuries. And I don't think you and I will solve that, right? Because it's been between great scholars. You know, you would have Imam Ghazali on one side, you would have Imam Nawawi, you would have Imam Ahmed on another side, you would have, Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim. Okay, you'd have different scholars on both sides, actually, great scholars. Even when it comes to Aqidah. Right? So, with regards to Dhul Qarnayn and with regards to Ya'juj and Ma'juj, with regards to Khidr, you'll find people coming up with all kinds of strange ideas. For example, you'd find that some people still believe that Khidr is somehow still amongst us. Okay? You'll have these people. All right? And then you'll have people who think that Dhul Qarnayn was Alexander the Great. And this is an opinion that was popularized even in translation of the Quran. That he is Alexander the Great. And then you have opinions where Ya'juj and Ma'juj are all kinds of strange things. For example, China. Okay, the Chinese are Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And just recently, there's someone who came up with this. Someone was reading a book. It was, I'm going to try not to get too much into names, but sometimes unavoidable. But someone was reading a book recently, and he was telling me how, he believes that this is Ya'juj and Ma'juj are the Chinese, right? And some have come with the mix that, okay, there was a people back in the days. So certain people who talk about eschatology, the science of the end of days and so on. Right? Some have said that Dhul Qarnayn, Qarn means from Qarn, or time frame, a certain time. So Dhul Qarnayn as in the one of two times, or who, there'll be two major events. Like, back in the days, there was some people who were, a big tribe, and there were mischief and whatnot. And then there'll be another time when they'll happen again, and there'll be like different people, maybe related descendants. So this kind of thought, I want to just go based on the frame of thinking, right? This is all what's called speculation. This is all speculative. These are all theories. And of course, they usually catch a lot of popularity because they're like, almost like, ghost stories or jinn stories, right? Everyone likes this stuff. Everyone like mysterious. Oh my God, who is this mysterious character in the Quran? Oh my God, it's these people, right? So people start drawing parallels, and of course they'll interpret like drinking from the seawater as in like, oh, sucking the resources or something like that, and doing this, something there, right? It's all figurative, okay? It's all symbolical for them, right? Some people have interpreted the Dajjal to be the TV, right? And when you look at a lot of these people come up with these opinions are like actual learned people, right? Learned people. So I want you to understand the frame of thinking, the way that the thinking is taking place, and how the text is interpreted. So they won't deny the hadith, okay? They will not deny the hadith. They'll not say, for example, oh, this hadith is not authentic, or this is a fabrication, or anything like that. They say, no, it actually means this. So, Ya'juj and Ma'juj means China. Dhul Qarnayn means something different, okay? And right, drinking from the water or eating everything means, consuming the resources, or, spreading economical problems, or, all kinds of speculations have been taken. And personally, while I don't agree with this approach, is because the very notion that there's so many different opinions of what this thing can be. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I want you to think, because people try to inject meaning or to deduce meaning or to, and that's the problem with the scientific approach that's been taken towards the Quran. So, people first start talking about science in the Quran. They're talking based upon what was available in science back then, which has been superseded by new knowledge in science. But then when people said, this is what it means in the Quran, right? So for example, they say that like, oh, the atom is described in the Quran, right? So they consider the word dhar. وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا, right? So he said dhar means it's an atom. Look, the Quran talks about the atom. So people are like embracing Islam. And which book or how come it talks about the atom? It must be from God. If the atom is talked about in the Quran, khalas, I become Muslim. And people have. And a bunch of Muslim da'is wrote books on these things, scientific miracles of the Quran, which some things are amazing and some things were literally stretched. It was gymnastics that was done to stretch the meaning to fit it in. Why? Oh, with a good intention to prove to people that the Quran is scientifically compatible, which is, the premise is wrong, because the Quran is not a book of science, and because you have the wrong direction. You don't have to make the Quran agree with science, right? It is not like that, because science is a man-made thing. It's humanity's attempt to understand the world through different experimentation, different procedures, different rules, or theories or laws at some point. But all these laws, for example, the law of gravity, when a scientist says the law, it's a law, meaning it's for sure, that's it. But see, if we look at the changes in the world, the planets, even the poles are shifting. This can affect gravitational physics. This can affect so many scientific, rules or laws right now in the universe. When the sun is going to rise from the west, the things will change. Things will change within the system of science, within the laws. Things are going to change. Even maybe the acceleration, the gravity, the speed will change. 9.8, right? Meters per second squared. It will change. It can change because within this environment is 9.8. But in space, for example, or on another planet, it will be different. Why? Because there are different circumstances. There's a different environment. gravitational pull, everything is different. So it's not like clear cut. Yes, this is it. It's never gonna change. No, it's like it's just not like that, right? So actually, we look into the Quran. Dhar means a very small thing, like the head of an ant. But the Muslims have mistranslated that into atom. So there was a guy who wrote a book about science and the Quran. And many people converted to Islam and they felt so happy. And the same person was later refuted by certain scientists and even by the Muslims themselves, who brought the tafsir and the hadith and the explanations. Because that brother, may Allah bless him, he didn't know traditional studies, he didn't know Arabic at the time. He wasn't able to really reach into true scholarship, Islamic scholarship. So he was in doubt to the point that he came on social media on a video and he ripped his own book apart. But see, the thing is, people need to understand, when you start throwing these opinions out there and you are viewed as someone who's very popular and people listen to, and people call you, so many things, you're a scholar, and you even if you say, I'm not a scholar, right? I'm not a sheikh. But people say, Sheikh, you're a sheikh, brother, Sheikh Gabriel, Sheikh this, Sheikh Ahmed, Sheikh. Right? People start saying you're sheikh, and because you're popular, people follow you. The regular, general people will follow you, whether you like it or not. So when you take that pedestal, when you take that light, that spotlight, you are responsible for what you say. And the people will follow. You can say 10, 20, 30 disclaimers. I'm not sheikh. Guys, I just want to say these things. Not really, People are not going to care. They will say, Sheikh so-and-so believes this. And you have people following them and believing that this is correct. This makes sense to them. Right? So this brother who wrote that book and then came later on and ripped his own book, right? Later on, he had doubts, and he put many people in doubts to the point that some people left Islam. Right? Even if, let's say, you change your opinion, you don't come out in the public and you say these things just for your own self-satisfaction to show everyone that you've changed or something like that. Right? Because you need to understand the other side of the other end of communication, the receiver, the recipient of what you are saying. How do they interpret your actions and your words? This is very important. I think a lot of public famous guys forget this sometimes, that people are listening to you and they will follow you. So the correct approach, according to me, and this is why is it because I believe so, or because school of thought or anything? No, it's because it is the natural approach. I keep telling people, you start learning Arabic in the unnatural way and then you complain that you cannot learn Arabic. That is because you are not doing naturally. And I give the example, the first thing that a baby ever learns is to listen. They hear, they understand speech. Then they speak, they start attempting to mimic speech. Mama, baba, because that's been hearing, right? That's all they hear. Why do kids say mama and baba first? Because usually, we go to the little baby, mama, baba, right? We kept pointing towards, so that's the first thing, right? And then once they start speaking, then they codify speech and writing, then they learn grammar and all that. We do it wrong. So the same way, when you understand language, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. Allah has revealed this Quran in Arabic so that you may understand. Ya Rab, I didn't record. Why? Okay, Allah says, Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. So Allah has revealed this Quran in Arabic, and it's an Arabic speech. It's bayyina, it's clear, right? So in language, when you say, for example, here comes a lion, run. What would you understand? You would understand that a lion is coming, you gotta be run, you know, it's like an animal, right? True. If I just like, guys, there's a lion coming, run, right? You understand, man, this guy means that there's a lion coming, we better run, right? But if I tell you and I say, Muhammad fought like a lion, or Muhammad is a lion, what would you understand? You would understand that Muhammad is brave. Muhammad is like a lion, but he's not an actual lion. You understand the example, right? It's just, it's natural understanding of literal versus figurative, or right? And this is where the mistakes happen, because people cannot, their mind now is in this limbo of confusion of, can this actually happen? Can people actually live for so many years? Can they actually eat and drink and destroy and this and that? And then their mind kicks in and says, no, I don't think so. Doesn't make sense. But I think there might be another explanation. So killing and all this and drinking from the sea, it doesn't mean that. It's probably just, it's just the significant. It's just figurative, you know? It doesn't really mean that, right? Because their mind doesn't allow them to comprehend this issue, right? Just like when we talked about the sun setting in the murky water, right? People, their minds are like, oh my God, that's so funny. Ha ha ha, it settled in the water. No, it's easily understood if I start talking and describing the sunset. It's very poetic, it's very figurative, it's very, beautiful. I'm not going to use literary. And the sun went down and it set and it, the rays went down and it's on the other side now, another continent. And, no, you're going to talk about the sun rays pierced the water and the heat of the, it was like, something, right? You talk very in a very poetic, figurative, symbolic way. And it's very natural to do that. And that is why in the Quran you understand it very clearly when you read it, literary or figurative. In language, because it's language, it's just something simple. And that's why when you're going to read through the verses, you understand just from reading that this is not a figurative. The Dajjal is not a TV, just because one eye, then the TV is one screen and has fitna. Okay? No, the Dajjal is an actual being. Right? And Yajuj and Majuj is not some nation, that is a sovereign nation or whatever. And they're just because there are a lot of them. And they, that because they're the ones, Chinese or something, or Russia or the Indians or anything like something like that, right? It's just not that. But there will be some people. So let's continue reading, and then when we reach, I'm gonna talk about this a bit more. But Dhul Qarnayn, basically, until he reached a pass between two mountains. It says, حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. So it reached a place, a pass between two mountains, and he find beside them a people who could hardly understand his speech, speaking a different language. People would talk through sign language, through whatever. People can communicate anytime. It doesn't matter, it can. So they actually talked to him. Oh, Dhul Qarnayn. Okay. قال يا ذو القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدين في الأرض. They are corruptors in the land. Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Okay? So may we assign for you an expenditure that you might make between us and them a barrier. They're seeking protection. They want protection. Right? Ya'juj and Ma'juj. So he traveled, the tafsir says they followed east until reached a place. And basically, Gog and Magog say the Tafsir Ibn Kathir says, it will emerge in a land of the Turks and spread mischief there, destroying crops and people. And Yajuj and Majuj are among the progeny of Adam, peace be upon him. So the two Sahihain, okay, is very important here. The two Sahih, Allah said, "O Adam," this is Hadith Qudsi. When Allah says, it's Hadith Qudsi. "O Adam," Adam says, "Here I'm your Lord at your service." Said, "Send forth the group of hellfire." Adam said, "What is the group of hellfire?" Allah said, "Out of every 1,999 will go to hell, and one will go to paradise. At that time, young men will turn gray, and every pregnant female will drop her load. Among you are two nations who never come to anything, but they overwhelm it with their huge numbers. They are Yajuj and Majuj." They are Yajuj and Majuj, okay? "Among you are two nations." So these are from progeny of Bani Adam, okay? It's very important. They are actual humans. They're not zombies. So recently there was a popular lecture where one of the proposals for Yajuj and Majuj, there was by a Sheikh who knows a Sheikh. And he said, "It's my friend who's a Sheikh also, but I'm not going to tell you his name." That's what the Sheikh said in the lecture. And the audacity to even put it out there is just so, I mean, it just really, because we watch so much Netflix and movie, you can see now again how nurture influences you, how your environment, what you watch, it influences your ideas. You have to understand, brother and sister. Let's get back to basic psychology. Watching anything today, if it's a strong movie, 1 hour and 20 minutes, or even a short clip of 5 minutes, we know that it influences you, isn't it? How many times have you received a WhatsApp message or saw a video on Facebook that really, really moved you? And sometimes just like 3 to 5 minutes. How about a 1 hour, 20-minute movie or lecture, speech? It will influence you. And those ideas, the inception of that idea into your brain is like this seed that will grow. And when an idea is inseminated in your mind, it is the most powerful thing, because it catches roots and you start believing it, then it's very difficult to uproot it. It is very, very difficult to uproot it, right? And that's why when I work with youth also, one of the things I asked them was about their social media habits. And a lot of times, I can relate and understand why they are suffering of what they're suffering. A lot of issues related to sexuality, for example, are because of pornography, what they watch. And so almost every time, they recognize and there's a correlation. So these, unhuman, zombie, semi-human, the Sahihain, the two Sahih says that these people are Bani Adam. So they're a nation, they're tribe, okay? It's not, you cannot have speculation. Speculation in the Quran is not allowed. Umar Khattab used to punish people for speculating things that are outside of the realm of what we expect. Have you ever seen a zombie? Have you ever seen a half-human zombie, I don't know what? No. Undead? No. Umar Khattab would smack you on your head with a stick if you would bring these kind of questions up to him. Because he was always about the reality. Ask me a question in fiqh that you have to deal with in your life on a daily basis. Don't ask me which direction should I pray if I'm above the Kaaba? A'udhu billah. When are you going to be above? Oh, I might pass over an airplane. But then don't pray. It's going to be just 1 minute passing over it. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Like, people have that kind of mentality. They ask those kind of hypothetical, irrelevant, irregular questions. Why? Because there's a problem in their minds. فيتبعون ما تشابه منه ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله. Because they follow ما تشابه, things that are like, could mean this, could mean that, it's not clear. ابتغاء الفتنة, they are looking actually for fitna. Their niyyah has been exposed. وابتغاء التأويل, and they try to find all kinds of weird interpretations. It means Chinese, Japanese, Russia, Mongols, Turks, this, that, all kind. Everyone's like, wow, right? And then they start getting followers, and every time the political climate changes, maybe even their interpretation might change. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So here, Dhul Qarnayn is asked to make a barrier. These people are suffering. They're being attacked. Okay? There's no zombie. There's no monster. There's no this. There's no that. Okay? We need to put our heads to rest. Can these tribes, these human beings, do what they do? Yes, if Allah allows them to, they can do anything. If Allah makes them, can they survive for 4,000 years? They can. Just like the people in the cave did for 300 and something years, right? 309 years. Can they? Yes, they can. Because Allah is the one who made the fire be cool for Ibrahim. So of course it doesn't burn him. If you jump in the fire, right? He was thrown in the fire. Can it not burn him? Yes, it cannot burn him because Allah didn't want him to be burned. You understand? Can Allah just make things happen? Yes, He just says kun fayakun. It's clear in the Quran. It's like not I'm coming with some interpretation. No. Allah said to the fire, Ibrahim, be cool and peaceful to Ibrahim. Done. Allah allowed the people of the cave to sleep. Done. Whatever Allah wills, done. Simple. Not like, I think my friend is a sheikh and he thought that they are Yajuj and Majuj. Too much Netflix, bro. With all due respect, too much Netflix. World War Z and I don't know what and all these zombie movies that have been put out there. And it's just ridiculous. Ibn Jurayr reports from Ata from Ibn Abbas that they wanted to collect money among themselves, the people, to give to him. To who? To Dhul Qarnayn. So they would create a barrier between them and Yajuj and Majuj. Dhul Qarnayn said with kindness, and he said, look, whatever Allah has given me, power or authority, this is better what you can collect, This is better than what you collect. Same like what Sulaiman alayhi salam said, right? Sulaiman said, that basically Allah has given me better than what He has given you. So Sulaiman was blessed. Dhul Qarnayn is blessed. So he said, just help me. Help me with strength, assist me with manpower, and I'll make between you and them a dam. Meaning He's going to lock them down. He's going to stop them. So he says, I'll erect between you a barrier. Give me Zubar al-Hadid. Give me like an ore of iron. Give me a sheet of iron. It's basically like pieces or chunks of something. And these were like bricks or blocks. And it was said that each block was 1 kintar or more. So it was big. And then he basically filled in this gap. He put the blocks on top of one another, started at the bottom until he reached the tops of the mountains, filling the width and the height and the gap. And, scholars differed about the width and this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is that if there's no information, again, people will start speculating. So that's why scholars will start differing and with opinions. The scholars didn't think that they'll come, a lot of many at the time right now where people start thinking about zombies and all kinds of weird stuff. And the scholars are human beings. So they just started talking, like some scholars take a lot from the people of the book, interpretations, and so on. But the Quran gives us the important information. A powerful man is being asked to help against a powerful nation that is causing fitna and killing and destruction. And he fills up the gap and between two mountains, and he says, blow. It means there was a fire that was lit until the burning was hot, so blow meaning, so that the fire gets hotter, that they're melting. And then he says, bring me qitran to pour over them. Ibn Abbas, Mujahid, Ikrimah, others have said that this is copper. Some said that this was molten. Okay, again, the details are not clearly given. How would the Sahaba know these things? Why would they say it's copper? Probably they heard the Prophet ﷺ. Or the meaning would mean that to the Quraysh or to the Arabs. Right? So basically, there's no details, more details than that, because that's not important. The importance is of what was built and what was the reason. Okay? So Gog and Magog were unable to pass over it, nor were they able to affect it or to penetrate it. Right? How do we know? Was it closed from both sides or what? How were they stuck? How did it happen? Were they pushing and all that? That is not described in the Quran, but we're going to read a little bit about that. And Dhul Qarnayn, what did he say? This is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes, he will make it level. And ever is the promise of my Lord true. Dakka. Okay. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّ حَقًّا. Okay. So Allah tells us about the Ya'juj and Ma'juj. They cannot climb over the barrier nor penetrate its lower portion. They just couldn't. Okay. They just couldn't. It's just difficult. And they're stuck there. Imam Ahmed recorded that Zainab bin Jash, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, woke up from sleep and he was red in face. Who? The Prophet ﷺ. And he said, La ilaha illallah, woe to the Arabs from the evil that has approached them. Today a hole has been opened in the barrier of Ya'juj and Ma'juj like this. And he made the circle with his index finger and thumb. Okay, so put your index up and your thumb and just make a small space between the two, and it's basically as small as that. Okay, like half a finger, not even. You understand, right? Like literally. So Zainab bin Jash, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, woke up and found the Prophet ﷺ red in face. He's angry. And what did he say? Pay attention. Woe to the Arabs from the evil that has approached them. Woe to the Arabs. That a hole has been opened. And Zainab said, Ya Messenger of Allah, Ya Rasulullah, will we be destroyed even though there will be righteous people amongst us? Right away, she talks about destruction. Right? Yes, if evil increases. So here we can understand that Allah opened this hole or allowed them to open this hole because of the evil of people. So Ya'juj and Ma'juj are a form of punishment. Okay? So because of the evil of people, this is happening. And specifically the Prophet ﷺ said what? The Arabs. Woe to the Arabs. We love the Arabs. But subhanallah, because they're the leaders, they're the, mashallah, but the evil is spreading so much in Arabia, so much. This is Sahih Hadith. Both Al-Bukhari and Muslim recorded, muttafaqun alayh. So with all due respect to people, when you bring speculation in versus Bukhari and Muslim, which is muttafaqun alayh, it is very difficult for a person who has any knowledge of Islam and is coming from a proper background of studies to start thinking about zombies and all kinds of stuff. With all this, it's just so sad, And not just that, to say something like, if you want to believe that there's a tribe that is hidden somewhere and they're digging right now, you can go and believe in this. In the day of science and geography, you got Google Maps and satellites. Where are these people? You cannot see them. So it doesn't make sense. If you want to believe it, go ahead. I don't believe it, right? This is what some people are saying today. Sadly, people are coming from a very traditional background of proper, authentic studies, who respected Bukhari and Muslim and still do, no doubt. But again, the mind has influenced because of the environment, because of the pressure, because of reading. I speak to some of the brothers who, mashallah, are so smart. They read so many opinions of so many different scholars, so many different books. They finish, like you're talking about, a book a week or more. And sometimes I say, I think you guys read too much the books of people, the opinions of human beings, and the speculations and theories of human beings, be they Muslims even. That we should spend more time with the Quran, understanding the simplest tafsir of the Quran, because the Quran is not difficult, contrary to popular opinion that some people are so scared to read the Quran because they say, I cannot understand it. Allah says that this is clear. There's no doubt in it. It's very clear. It is bayina. It is balagh. It is speech. It's communication. Even translation. There's enough, be it Tafsir Jalain or Sa'di or Ibn Kathir, or especially like Ibn Kathir, that brings in the authentic hadith in almost every ayah, right? It's not difficult. We can and it's the simplest explanation usually, right? Why? Because this is the natural way of language. It's not some esoteric understanding that only a certain sheikh or a group has figured it out. Or it doesn't matter what you tell me that it has qarnain means two horns, because to me qarn means it means a period of time. I mean, subhanallah, it doesn't matter that scholars have said that there's hadith about that. It doesn't matter because it fits the agenda. No, that's not the right attitude, brothers and sisters. It's just not the right attitude. That's it. It's just not the right attitude. To start from that perspective, that I know some hidden knowledge, that this means this and this means that, everyone else has got it wrong. Here we are in the 21st century. It makes sense to me. It might make sense to you, but that doesn't mean it's true, especially when you have Bukhari and Muslim standing against you. With all due respect, who are you compared to Bukhari Muslim? With all due respect, nothing. Nothing. So Dhul Qarnayn said, this is a mercy from my Lord. He's praising Allah for being able to build this. Okay? This is a mercy. Look, he didn't say, yeah, I'm so strong. Yeah, alhamdulillah, me. No, he praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? He's praised Allah. But when the Lord, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّةً وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. Dakka means like it will be leveled, it will be made flat. And the Arabs used to dakka to describe a female camel whose back is flat and has no hump. So dakka is like flat, it will be flattened. Dakka, right? In Surah 7, verse 143, um, this word is made clear. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّ حَقًّا, and the promise of the Lord will come to pass without doubt. So, on that day, when the barrier will be breached and these people, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, will come out surging over mankind to destroy their wealth and property, which some leave, some of them to surge like waves on one another. We leave them surging over the other, and the horn will be blown, and we will assemble them in one assembly, okay, which is the day of resurrection. So we shall leave them, some of them, Suddi, they said that this basically, they'll emerge upon the people. And all this will happen before the day of judgment, before the day of resurrection, and after the Dajjal, and after the Dajjal. Okay? So Yajuj in the verse, the Yajuj Majuj also mentioned in Surah 21, verse 96 to 97, that until when Yajuj and Majuj are let loose and they swoop down from every place, and this is the promise that shall draw near. وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ, and the horn will be blown. Okay, this is the tafsir says it will be angel Israfil who will blow the horn, as has been explained in the hadith quoted at length above, right? So there's a hadith about this, and there's many hadith on this topic. Okay, many hadith on this topic. And the Prophet said, how can I relax when the one with the horn has put the horn in his mouth already and is knelt down, listening out from the command to be given, right? So they said, what should we say? قالوا, what should we say? حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل على الله توكلنا. This is what we should say. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل على الله توكلنا. You should get used to saying this. Allah is sufficient for us and the best disposer of affairs. Indeed, in Allah we put our trust. And we will present hell that day to disbelievers on display. Allah will present hellfire. The eyes who have been with a cover removed from my remembrance, and they were not able to hear. الذين كانت أعينهم في غطاء عن ذكري وكان لا يستطيعون سمع. Yani, yes, they saw, they can see, but they didn't see the truth. And yes, they could hear, but they couldn't hear and understand the Quran. Why? Because there's something wrong in their hearts. There's something wrong. There's too much arrogance. There's too much holding them back. There's just too much. So the day of judgment is a big thing. And subhanAllah, it's only our own deeds that will stop us from entering Jannah. It is only our own arrogance, our own disobedience, the things that we have done, and nothing else. Nothing else. They're blind, not. They can see, but they're blind in their hearts. They're deaf not. They can hear, but they are deaf in their hearts. Because no matter how much you recite the Quran, no matter how many proofs you show them, what do? They don't believe. They start making fun. They start ridiculing, saying you guys are backwards and so on. And just, subhanAllah. And you see, most people are moving towards that. And sadly, the frame of reference, the mind is changing. The way people are approaching revelation is changing. And that's why I'm so alarmed at some of the changes that have been taking place recently within our da'is and the discussions that they've been having. And my question is always like, why? Why are you talking about this? And why have you taken this opinion? What? You have to ask the why. No one questions the why. They're just so stuck in the being taken by what they said. Question is why? What has made this person change? or not, I'm not, and don't think I'm talking just about one person, or, you know, it's now becoming a trend where everyone is putting their head above revelation, their mind, their own mind above revelation. What? And again, I say to these brothers, like, are you guys forgetting to read the Quran or what? Are you too much into books and opinions of people or what? Are you watching too many things and it's influenced you or what? Why the change in the way of thinking? Because we know very clear, the Quran is very clear. That's what it's all about, that Allah is Al-Alim. He is above everything. He's Al-Hakim. And His knowledge is above everyone. That's why the story of Khidr, that's why we see so much depth in that story. That's why we see the Qadr of Allah. We see how we should accept the Qadr of Allah. This is what Khidr and Musa represents. Knowledge and the fitna of knowledge. And appearances and how things look like and how they don't make sense. Why would you kill a child? Why would you break a boat? Why would you hold that wall? Why? And yet the knowledge of Allah is above all that, and then Khidr makes it clear in the end as to why. But we see the perception is different for Musa and different for Khidr. And what's the difference? Knowledge. He had more knowledge. Right? You find today people, oh, I don't agree with this. Doesn't make sense to me. Why? Well, it just doesn't make sense. But maybe because you don't know. Didn't you ask yourself that? Maybe I don't know. Who says that your mind is the judge of everything? If your mind agrees with it, yeah, brother, it must be great, right? I hate that when I give a lecture and it fits the people, everyone's so happy. Oh yeah, Sheikh, good job, amazing lecture, wow, baba. Next day you give another lecture that they don't like. Oh, how dare you talk like that? I don't agree with this. Should take this off. This is how. And I'm like, why? What's your proof? No, I just don't like it. Why? No, it's something in my mind. I can't agree with it. Why? I mean, what is going on? One day like this, one day, if you're not the criteria for what is right or wrong in revelation, or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, the hukum of something, and nor is the I don't know what the people are doing, or what certain laws or regulations. No, you're not going to change the interpretation of what Allah has revealed because some people are not happy. Whatever community they are, they can scream as much as they want to. They're marginalized, they're oppressed, they listen. No one has the right to change the Quran, even in interpretation. And Allah makes it very clear. Look, أَفَحَسِبَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا the disbeliever thing أَيَتَّخِذُوا عِبَادِي مِن دُونِ أَوْلِيَاءَ. Do people actually think they can take human beings as protectors, as awliya? Which human beings? My servants. This can be Jesus, this can be anyone, any human being. إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا جَهَنَّمَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ نُزُلًا. Indeed, we have prepared hell for the disbelievers, Allah. Conjecture, confusion, speculation, this is not allowed. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that the people are disputing about Isa alayhi salam. They are in doubt, conjecture. They don't know. They don't have clear knowledge. Right? They don't. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ كَبُرَتْ كَلِمَةً تَخْرُجُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ يَقُولُونَ كَذِبًا. This is nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like conjecture or speculations or these things. But yet, subhanAllah, we love, human beings love these kind of stories and tales and, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and this, all kinds of, supernatural, this and that, jinn and ghosts and woo, even like when you go, you see some at the, advertisement for movies, even here, local movies, all about some dead, some ghosts, some, coming from the dead and some jinn and some this and subhanallah. And people love this stuff. And they're applying this kind of things to the scriptures and revelation and they know it's clear what it means. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is very clear. Don't just follow. The Quran is simple. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He says to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, shall we inform you of the greatest losers as to their deeds? الأخسرين أعماله الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. Allahu Akbar. If you can summarize what is happening today in this ummah with all these weird, strange opinions of different people, especially the issue of homosexuality, LGBT, riba, and all the things that are taboo. Yet, when I was talking about LGBT with someone, I said, bro, you're a Muslim. I said, bro, this is not about whether you can eat the meat of Ahl Kitab debate or not. When Allah says that He has made halal for you the meat of Ahl Kitab, and the question is, well, should it be slaughtered or not, or this or that? So then scholars debate, two different opinions, right? Big debates, big scholars on both sides throughout the centuries, right? Because it's just not, there's no mention of the slaughter. So some just, it's inferred, or it's you suppose that it should be slaughtered, and some say no. This is not the same debate, man. This is something that Allah has talked about and made clear in the Quran. And yet still people they want to debate. Allahu Akbar. So those who will put this effort in this worldly life, but it'll be lost, but they will think that they're doing great work. They will think that they're doing something. Today I was watching, I'm so sorry, but I was watching a discussion interview about LGBTQ in America, of how some people who follow Yaqeen Institute, I'm so sorry, but this is the truth, okay? And he's trying to explain his position as to how it's important to fight for their rights, because his marriage certificate is Sharia, and if he doesn't fight for gay rights, then it might happen that someone will question the legality of his marriage in America. So he has to defend that. He was just using it as an example. But I was like, oh my God. And then he says, well, it kind of, we didn't get what we wanted to, that was the intent. So you were doing all this, pushing people, saying to Muslims that it's a must to vote for gay marriage and all that. It's like literally like the word used is like, you have to. It's like wujub, you have to. That's what it says in the article. And then after, the articles were written like 3 years ago. So in 3 years, it's gone worse. You guys didn't get what you wanted, because they wanted to protect the American society, Muslim society. And now he's like, well, I don't know if I still hold that position, but you're still debating it. And you lost 3 years thinking that you're doing something good, as this verse says, but actually you lost 3 years. And maybe in your book of deeds is written that you were supporting a sin or fighting for a sin, right? Even just being quiet would be bad enough. Forget about actually fighting for it, man. And encouraging others. What happened to us reading Quran? Honestly, like I don't know, I'm so sorry, but it kills me. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. وَتَوَاصَوْا. They encourage each other, what? In haqq, not in batil. Are we not reading Surah Al-Asr? What are we understanding? Simple things, man. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. You encourage each other in haqq, in truth, not in sustaining and fighting for gay marriages, man, and other weird stuff that's happening in this ummah. And guys, with all due respect, this is not where a debate over where you put your hand in prayer, or whether you should make kunut or not in Fajr, or whether you should eat the food of Ahl Kitab or not. Okay? This is not what it is. You're talking here about clear-cut evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah that Allah has described, and the Prophet has described, and He said, I did not leave you with anything unaddressed. Anything will bring you closer to Jannah or take you farther away from Jannah. I don't know what we're doing. But imagine spending all that time writing all those articles, giving all those lectures, having hundreds of thousands of followers. And then you find out on the day of judgment that it's all in vain. It's all gone bad. But you think you've been doing good your whole time. SubhanAllah. أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم. SubhanAllah. Those are the ones who disbelieve in the verses of the Lord and their meeting with Him. So their deeds have become worthless, and we will not assign to them in their resurrection any importance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. ذلك جزاؤهم جهنم بما كفروا واتخذوا آياتي ورسلي هزوا. Look at that. They took the signs of Allah and the Messenger and ridicule. People start debating now. Islam has become the intellectual debate of certain people. I'm an intellectual. I am an academician. I'm an academic. Who are you? And then we get on a podcast and we start, playing, being so versed in academics and quoting and opinions of people and this and that. And the regular people are sitting there, they're like confused, like what's going on? Allah SWT says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ كَانَتْ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتُ الْفِرْدَوْسِ نُزُلًا. Those who believe in the good deeds, the gardens of paradise will be their lodging. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا لَا يَبْغُونَ عَنْهَا حِوَلًا. This they will abide in them eternally. They will not desire from it any transfer. They will wish to stay there all the time. And look at this. Here, Allahu Akbar. I want you to link this verse to what Khidr said to Musa. That my knowledge and your knowledge compared to the knowledge of Allah is like that bird that dug its beak inside the water and tried to grab some water from the sea. قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَدَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي وَلَوْ جِئْنَا بِمِثْلِهِ مَدَدًا. Say, if the seas were ink for writing the words of my Lord, the seas would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted, even if we brought the likes of it as a supplement. Another sea, subhanAllah, or another so many seas. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ أَنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. Say it is, I'm only a man. I'm not some saint. I'm just a man. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not overpraise me. People start going, oh, Ya Allah, what they say about the Prophet ﷺ. He is the Nur of Allah, Nurullah, and this and that. And Allah created the world for him. And yeah, the Prophet ﷺ said, do not overpraise me. Say, I am the servant of God. And look here, he says, if you don't doubt the hadith, I am a man like you, to whom it's been revealed that God is one God. فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحد. So whoever hopes to meet the Lord, Allah, let him do righteous work. Simple. You want to meet Allah in a good state? Do good. And stay away from shirk. Look, subhanAllah, what Allah asks us, just small things, man. Pray, fast, be nice, be kind, don't lie, do your zakah, do your hajj if you can. Khalas, Jannah. Why it's so difficult? Simple. Just don't do shirk. Bas. Just don't do shirk. Beautiful verses. فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحد. Beautiful. What a beautiful verse. What a beautiful surah. What a beautiful ending about the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What a beautiful stories. The stories, first story, the fitna or the trial of faith, the young man. The second story, the trial of wealth, right? The two gardens, right? The third story, the trial of knowledge, test of knowledge, Khidr. And the fourth story, that of power, right? That power that corrupts so many people. All these things corrupt, right? Faith sometimes, And oppression, because of oppression, those young men were suffering oppression. It can lead you to corruption, that oppression. Even if you have faith, you need to get away. And wealth will corrupt you unless you believe in Allah. And knowledge can also corrupt you unless you're humble and you want to study and you have patience. And that's what scholars say. Musa would have had a little bit more patience. He could have learned so much more from Khidr. Khidr would have continued with him. And last but not least, power. Power. Allah is giving, right? They tried to say, we're going to give you money, Ya Dhul Qarnayn, just do it. I don't need your money. Allah is giving me. He didn't say, oh, I can add some extra to my, subhanallah, right? Because he was humble and a righteous servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So these are the four great stories. And in the middle, between the two stories, you have Shaitan, the story of Shaitan, how he refused to obey the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So when we look at these are the, some of the reasons, just my personal, understand that this is one of the reasons why we're reading, and Surah Kahf has such an important role. I mean, there's just so much wealth in this. There's just so many things happening that if we think and ponder every time we read it over, it can really build wisdom in us to apply in our daily life. With our faith, with our money, with our knowledge, and with our power. These are the most important things, isn't it? And be wary and be careful of Shaitan. Be wary and careful of Shaitan. Right? So, every time I read the surah, there's just something different. Khidr, the story of Khidr is so much depth on how to understand life and the things that happen in our life, how to have patience, how to deal with things that might look like different, right? And how to wait till knowledge comes to us, not jump to conclusion. Oh, I don't know this. It doesn't make sense to me. I won't agree with it. No. And you ask them why? No, it just doesn't. While the correct would be like, wait, let me have patience and wait. Maybe more knowledge will come to me. Maybe I will learn more. Maybe, how many times in our life have we looked back 10, 5, 10, 15 years and we're like, oh my God, if I would have known back then what I know now, I would have done things differently, isn't it? Right? Or how many times do we know, if I wouldn't have done this, or if I wouldn't have done that, I would have never been here. Or, things are just so amazing when you look at it from that perspective. All we have to do is to be patient, and have knowledge. Seek knowledge. Now, can I clarify again why the other sheikhs are digging in the earth? Is that mentioned anywhere? The thing is, there's a lot of hadith or some talks. We need to look for the authenticity, but it seems that there is something that says about digging, and that, what we hear from this hadith, that the more the evil spreads, the more it will be easier for them to come out, right? And these are the authentic hadith. Okay, as for the digging or not digging, but basically they will come up. It will be a time when the wa'ad, or the promise of Allah, comes. This barrier will be leveled, and they will come out, right? And there's a lot. You'll see. There's quite a lot of lectures, but we need to look for the authentic information, especially, brothers and sisters. Be careful. That's why I don't like to give lectures about the end of times a lot, or about the Dajjal. Because you'll find these lectures on YouTube, but a lot of it is not necessarily authentic. Okay, there's a lot of it is not necessarily authentic. So I don't know. For me, I'm not an expert in eschatology or the science of the last day, and I kind of stay away from that. I just need to know what I need to know. I can do research, but again, I like to follow the authentic If there's 2 hadith that are authentic, for me is enough, because I don't desire the details of all these things, because I learned from Surah Al-Kahf that we just read that the details are not important. You know, they say the devil's in the details, right? Why? Why is that saying? Because people get so stuck in the details, and sometimes the details are not just there's not important. They're sometimes just not true, right? Because remember, if Allah wanted to give us more info on a lot of these things, He would have. Certain things are clearly described in authentic hadith, and there's a lot. Some hadith are very long, some hadith are very explanatory, and some are not. So we have to be careful with that. During the time of Prophet ﷺ, they only have one book, the Quran. They're good people. Now we have so many books written, but look at us. Yeah, okay. I think I was talking to someone today, I'm not sure, about the printing press. Many of the scholars were very, very reluctant about the printing press. And actually, one of the scholars made a lesson. Actually, it was the same scholar that talks about this. Yajuj, Majuj. And he was talking about how, like some of the scholars gave fatwa, the printing press was not good, not but it's like not. And then some of the scholars were at one point were considering coffee to be haram. And anyway, they were talking about the printing press, right? But if you analyze why the scholars were against the printing press at the beginning, why they're saying that this is not correct. So today, when people look at it right now, some people who are in academia, they look at it like, what a backwards opinion. I don't agree with that. I think it was a great opinion. I think those scholars had so much wisdom in understanding how cheap knowledge will become when the books will be printed. So they try to contain that, because they traveled months to seek hadith. Their memories were so strong. They were practicing so much to learn. Even they would read and write, even just their writing. To make your own copy of the Quran, you would literally have to pay someone to copy it with hand, by hand, and then check it, make sure there's no mistake, and so on, right? This is but imagine how much you would learn just from writing. Imagine what kind of achievement, how you feel, how attached you are. It was just something, like knowledge was just so valued. How much people would travel, what they would give to be able to seek knowledge, the sacrifices. Why today? Books are just like everywhere, right? People just take any book. Not just that, but anyone can print a book. You can put anything in there. And because it's in a book, a lot of people just believe it. We are so interesting, such an interesting creature. And we see something on TV, it must be true. We see something in a book, it must be true. We see something like, it's just those scholars at that time understood so much about the importance of seeking knowledge. And remember, yes, the Quran was written down, right? And it's okay. But knowledge has become cheap. Okay, this is my personal opinion. That today we are reading the opinions of people. And people are reading, because there's some people are reading, not just Muslim books. Many are reading, I told you I had a very, very hard time speaking to one of my old teachers recently. Not recently, maybe like 7-8 months ago. I haven't spoken for a long time, and he was recommending to me to read some philosophy books, I was looking to him to give me a book of tazkiyah or tasawwuf or purification of the heart, something, Ibn Qayyim or Ibn Jawzi or, something like that. And he's telling me to read Nietzsche. And I was just, he's been in California for too long, with all due respect. And I love him. But in the end, some of the students of one of the great scholars, they were asked about the scholar. And they said, we love him, but we love the truth more. Right? And we live right now in the 21st century in a time where people love the scholar or the sheikh more than they love the truth. And that's very apparent if anyone dares to criticize or raise their voice against the scholar, they will rip them in pieces, man. They will have a field day with them on social media. And if you ask him, but what's your no? You can, how dare you? Well, I'm just saying that he's saying something wrong because Bukhari and Muslim says something else. I don't care about Bukhari and Muslim. This is my Sheikh. How dare, who do you think you are? You don't know anything. And you're like, brother, with all due respect, man. No, you don't have the right. What do you mean you don't have the right? So he has the right to say anything and to confuse people, and we don't have the right to say anything. SubhanAllah. You know, this is what's happened. Why? Because people get attached to personalities. People get attached to personalities, right? So, yeah, I mean, it was just scholarship was just something different. We get attached to truth, brothers and sisters. It's not about books and the writing of books and non-Muslims and Muslims. It's about, number one, that we need to study and spend as much time as we can with the Quran and the explanations of the Quran that are especially where the Prophet ﷺ explained to us in the Hadith, and the Sahaba who learned from the Prophet ﷺ, right? To understand the Book of Allah and the Hadith as much as we can, and not the opinions of people. I'm not disrespecting scholars or anything like that. No. But it's just that in the end, me, Sheikh this, Sheikh that, any Sheikh, any brother, any Dai, anyone, we are so fallible. We're wrong many times. We make mistakes. And if you're going to like me or Sheikh so-and-so, you're going to come and follow our mistake as opposed to sticking to the truth. And even if someone comes and shows you in your face that, look, this is a mistake, he made a mistake, a lot of times you won't believe them because you're so attached to the person, right? So we have to be careful. Spend more time with the Quran, with the Sahaba who were the best generations to interpret the Quran. And interpretation, I mean like to explain, certain things that the Prophet explained to them. They had questions. And the Prophet will explain to them, and they explain to us. Like, you can't, and I can read a book, I can read things, but be careful in the end when you go against something that is clear cut in the Quran or the Sunnah. Right? We have to be very, very careful. Now, any other questions?
Assalamu alaikum. So just putting things in perspective, here on one hand, we see the Yajuj crawling out from there. And on the other hand, we see the Dajjal there. And being Muslim, we know Imam Mahdi and Nabi Isa will come and do his part and kill the Dajjal. Today, if you look at the kuffar and the people who are in favor of the Dajjal, they are already making movies. And you carefully look at even the US dollar, they have an eye there and a few other signs there.
Yes.
The question is, they talk of Antichrist, and we know where we stand. Why are they pushing so much Dajjal? Thank you.
Okay. So I think these people, they don't believe, or they have, of course, the wrong concept of God. I'm not saying that maybe they believe, maybe they don't believe, but they think that they can win this battle. You have to understand, those people who are preparing the floor for Dajjal to come, they actually think that they will win, that he will actually be their God, right? And that's why the Dajjal, remember, he will claim to be God.
Okay.
So the people who are on his side will actually believe, and they think that they're on the right side. And he will use, these kind of miracles of cutting a person in two and putting it together, resurrecting his parents, and all those things, right? That we know about. Right? So many people, including believers, will be confused and will follow that. And only the ones in the clear aqidah and the clear understanding of Islam will be able to hold back. And I gave before two examples. One example is when Muslims get confused. Like, for example, I used to deal a lot with missionary Christians. And they always use these things that, especially like Muslims who have left Islam and they become missionaries, and they say, oh, I had a dream about Jesus, and Jesus, and people say, oh, you're lying. And I say, no, I don't think he's lying. I think he did have a dream about Jesus. But the problem is that he was not Jesus, he was the devil. But because he didn't have the correct aqidah and proper knowledge, and I'm not talking about here like have memorized 5 books and study with some sheikh. I'm talking about to have aqidah means like you're certain of your faith, that God is one and nothing can move that from you. Not one dream. It doesn't make sense that I will have a dream and Jesus comes to me and says, worship me. So I'm switching from Tawheed to, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, or something silly. And not to mention that also people who convert to Hinduism sometimes use the same argument, and that they saw some idol moving and eating some food, and then it was a miracle, and then Ganesh or something spoke to them. You'll find some of these, so I'm always asking, so which one is correct? If the Hindu idol is speaking to you and Jesus is speaking to the other one, and I don't know who else is speaking to the other guy, so which one? What do all have in common? It's shaitan that they have in common. It's the one and same only shaitan who comes and plays with them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the other thing is, we see, for example, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jalani, Jalani. He said that he was worshipping Allah one night, and that all of a sudden from the sky this throne descended in the clouds and says, Ya Abdul Qadir, I'm pleased with you. You don't have to pray anymore, right? So imagine that kind of, you're praying Qiyam, you have this spiritual awakening, and all of a sudden this throne comes down, right? Claiming that it's Allah. It's the right time, right? So because he was a scholar of knowledge, he said, oh, enemy of Allah, get away from me. Because he knows the Quran, that Allah will never tell you to stop praying. It doesn't matter who you are. You will worship Allah hatta yaqeen, till you die. You know what I mean? So, but imagine a normal person be like, oh my God, God came to me last night and he told me I don't have to pray. And you will find people like that who will say, oh, I had a dream and some prophet came to me and said alcohol is halal. So now I'm confused. I have to obey him. I have to drink because my dream said so. No, your dream is invalid. It's X,
Yes.
You find these weird things, right? SubhanAllah. But because Islam is so clear, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Who can deny, that, who can give up Qul huwa Allahu ahad for in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost? It's 3 but 1. It's a vapor, liquid, and solid. It's like, subhanallah, he's like, Ya Rab, come on, impossible.
MashaAllah.
Right?
Yes, it's not, Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Things like Mary, there's a picture of Mary shedding tears and things like that.
Shedding tears, exactly. Yeah. No. But that's the, I always make the argument that, every religion claims some of these things,
Yeah, sure.
And when you ask a Muslim, and what the Prophet ﷺ told us and what Allah teaches us, he never taught us to prove Islam with these things.
MashaAllah, yes.
Right? You never see, show the people that Islam is right because the Kaaba is at the golden ratio in the world, between or something like that. I don't know, something weird, or because some saint came and his grave smells like jasmine or something like that,
I think you were right just now when you mentioned we shouldn't follow the scientific discoveries they're making now. We get so excited and suddenly, look at this. Quran said that, and now science is proving it. So why should science prove it? It's already there. Allah has mentioned that a long time ago.
Exactly. Already the Quran is mentioned, I mean, just a few years ago, there was a university in United States, in Maryland, and they came up with a research that if you fast twice a week, it helps you against dementia and right. So then the Muslims were going like, you can see the research, you can just Google it. Oh, the Muslims were all over YouTube and Facebook. Wow, the Prophet fasted Monday and Thursday. The science is proof, and you're like, now you're getting all excited. Now you're getting like, come on, Like, you should see how, Ya Allah, what they did, and I was like, Ya Rab, come on, like now you became a Muslim because University of, Maryland has acknowledged that. SubhanAllah.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Shukran,
Yeah.
sir.
Ayakum. Alhamdulillah. So, yeah, I mean, this is Surah Kahf is just amazing. It's just so much wealth.
MashaAllah.
And let's try every time we read it to understand and remember some of the things that we said, and just to really connect to it and connect to our life, especially the wisdom of Khidr, and Musa, and how we applied that story and those lessons to the way we look at lives, or at life around us. Not to jump to conclusions really fast, to step a step back, to look at things from a different angle, to slow things down a bit, not to rush, to always remember the limitations of our brain and of our knowledge before we question Allah or the Hadith or the Prophet. We should always start from maybe I don't understand, maybe I don't have enough knowledge, maybe I have to have a bit more patience, maybe I need to learn a bit more, and maybe I'll learn. But today, subhanAllah, we're facing this huge fitna, brothers and sisters, where people are just leaving Islam. They don't understand something, they leave Islam. It doesn't make sense. They just we have huge problems, and it's just because I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. I ask them, okay, read Surah Fatiha correctly. You don't even know how to read Surah Fatiha correctly. But they're leaving Islam because they don't understand.
Wow, may Allah protect me.
Ameen. Okay, inshallah. Any other questions?
No, start. Go and rest down.
Barakallah fikum.
Inshallah.
Okay. So I hope may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us
Ameen.
that we made this surah, reading it as a worship for him, and we use this knowledge inshallah to benefit each other. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me if I made any mistake, if I've said anything wrong.
May Allah reward you.
May Allah forgive me for shortcomings, and may Allah bless us all. Ameen.
Ameen.
جزاكم الله خير والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, what will be our next surah?
I'm not sure. Inshallah, Sister Shamin will talk to me, and then we will inform inshallah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sheikh. Assalamualaikum.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Have a good night inshallah.